Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times and technological times. Segue, today's about AI. Benji and I are discussing AI and how we've actually used it for our own relationships with ourselves and even with our families. It's something that humanity is figuring out presently. Nobody has this figured out. We're all experimenting. It's a brand new technology. We don't have best use cases. I think we have some ideas, worst use cases, and we hope those never come to pass because AI is a neutral tool that can be used to create heaven or hell, to be honest, right? It unlocks a lot of potential for good and evil alike. So we just wanted to talk about that in terms of your high noon journey. How might you implement AI into your journey if you want? It's obviously kind of an option at this point, how much you care, but it's progressively turning into less and less optional as we move on. So yeah, we do have some personal use cases that we mention, and just come along for the ride because this is something we all need to figure out. So peace. Welcome back, everybody. We are doing experiments. Benji and I, you're never too old to learn. Old dogs can learn how to roll over. Just not if they're corgis. Corgis are so annoying.
I had an old guy moment today, if you want to hear about that.
Yeah, let's get right into old guy stuff.
I was at the trampoline park with my kids. We go once a week.
As one does when one is old.
To Sky Zone because we have membership.
Sweet.
And there was these two teenagers in the entire park. All right, keep in mind that it's just like everyone's children, and then adults are watching, like me. And then there's these two teenagers that are like 13, maybe 15 years old. And they're throwing these dodgeballs at little kids. And they're particularly throwing, like there's this one little redheaded girl. They're just like chucking balls at her in the head, right?
Can I just specify, because you say teenagers, but these are teenage boys, right?
Yeah, teenage boy.
Do you understand that teenage girls would never do anything like that? It wouldn't even register as a thing that you could do as a human?
It was an assumption, falsely. I'm sorry. They're dudes, like these grown men. They're grown men, right? They're not little kids. And I was just watching them chuck balls at little kids, right? Hitting them in the head. And then I jumped into the ring and I picked up some balls. And I kind of just like was very at first friendly, but I got so aggressive very quickly, over the top. I was just like, and I thought they would be playful and play back, but it turns out they were just like puffing smoke, and they were actually kind of weaselly, wimpish kids, right? And they're like, "You're an adult. You're an adult. Why would you do that? This is not fair." I'm like, "Well, you're just throwing." And then the whole like atmosphere in the Sky Zone was kind of awkward because I was becoming that, like the older kid that's chucking balls at them now, right? And then I felt really terrible because I thought they were going to reciprocate and like have fun with it, you know?
Sure.
But no.
So everybody, that is what devolution looks like. There's evolution or evolution, and there's devolution. That's when humanity regresses back to its previous iteration as, say, apish, humanoids. That's what we were.
My adrenaline was going like spiking hard that whole time.
I'm sure, you were alive, young and free. So Benji's inner bully came out. Thanks for letting us know. It's a great way to start the day. I just also want to say that, when I was a kid, actually, I got my first concussion ever of many. I was in a similar situation. It was like a playground in Toronto. Shout out to the North. And they're like punching bags, but kids can walk through them. It's kind of like an obstacle course. I don't know if they do that anymore because in the 80s, this was in the 80s, safety wasn't like as real as it is now, like for kids. And so it was like an obstacle course where you go through these things that resemble punching bags. And there were a group of teenagers similar to that who were like, and they were all of 100%, of course, boys, right? And they're like, let's murder these punching bags without any kind of looking around to see if are there other people in this obstacle course. and this one kid like side karate kicked the punching bag. I was on the other side of it. I went flying, hit my head in the concrete, passed out. My parents ran me to the hospital. It's just a little brain jiggling. But please understand, this is a great example of prefrontal cortex. Okay, everybody remember that term, prefrontal cortex. This is a part of your brain that helps you figure out what is right or wrong, what is good or bad, and that is not developed fully developed until you're about 25, 26. And this is why insurance is really expensive for boys to drive cars, because they are idiots in many ways. Like, you can be a really smart high schooler and do well in your tests, but not understand when to say no when somebody's like, hey, can you jump off that cliff? Because you're not even thinking, because you don't have this thing yet. This is also a reason why it's such a disaster to get into things like internet pornography, because you have no regulator. It's kind of like a machine that doesn't have a regulator will just explode, right? Because it needs to know if it's running too hot or whether it should just kind of chill for a second. And same with us, is our cerebral regulator doesn't develop until we're almost a quarter of a century old. And so our judgment, the way that you can interpret this from like a religious perspective, or just kind of like a wider scope perspective, is that you're meant to rely on your parents actually until you're about 25 to figure out what is good or bad, right or wrong. That's your judgment. You cannot scientifically make good judgment calls until you're about 25, 26, right? So it means you have to rely on a network of people who do have that developed part of their brain. So people above 25, 26, that's called wisdom. And it looks like a fully developed brain. That's up until a certain point. So yeah, it's a good lesson that when you see kids being utterly idiots when they're in their teens, it's like that's just par for the course. Mm-hmm. They can't do anything else. Not all the time, obviously, but like I definitely remember doing many, many stupid things. And when you look back, I was like, what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. That's the point. I was reacting to my unevolved mind, Okay. But I'm already teaching lessons like I'm a kindergarten teacher. So sorry about that. Today we're gonna get into
the threshold. You're above the age limit.
I'm now at the age where your brain starts to just evaporate if you're not careful. Which brings us to our third mind, AI. Let's get into AI because, and shout out to anybody who's watching. We have a little crowd here. People popping in and popping out. This is an experiment. For anybody who's watching this on YouTube after the fact or listening to this like a normal person listens to a podcast, we are doing an Instagram live of this podcast as an experiment just to see. And if you have any questions, you can ask us. But today we wanted to talk about AI and how to prepare yourself, because I honestly feel like people are not taking this seriously, and it should be taken seriously and not to be worried about, because you don't want to stress out about esoteric stuff, because what good is that? But to prepare yourself is to like see how can this tool be used to benefit my life, and especially in the realm of sexual integrity, because Benji, I know you have a recent example of like using ChatGPT as somewhat of a therapist. I've used it recently for meditation and like for relaxation. So I want to talk about some of the benefits that people can start using now, and then also what they can anticipate, because I'm relatively obsessed with this. And by obsessed, I mean like every day I'm checking in on the developments of AI, because it's changing rapidly, exponentially. And there's so many cool use cases that can help us as humans, but it's the same with the internet. The internet was invented to give us all knowledge, and then we use it to stalk, random people online, or to start fights on Facebook. That's not why it was invented. So same with AI. AI can be used to do great things, or it can be used to completely waste your time. Benji, I'd love for you to tell us this story of you in a hotel room in Florida, tweaking, just completely, crying, sad, lonely. How did AI help you?
You nailed it. You told the whole story just there. Good job, Edge. How did AI help me? Well, it was unexpected. And I say ChatGPT is my therapist, kind of as a humorous joke to poke fun of people that believe that their therapist is like God to them. I will say that it provided therapeutic results. Let's say that.
Let's say it.
And the reason is because I had brought my son to Florida, right, to celebrate his 10th birthday, which you only do once in a lifetime, I think. And
Unless you
it was
failed,
like the whole thing.
unless you failed the age and you have to repeat it.
Repeat. I don't know, and it was like the whole 9 yards, Legoland, amusement park, everything, and just alligators, everything, food, burgers, and then it was just fun nonstop for 4 days, and so exhausting and tiring. And the reason I really was having a hard time was because of my own internal dialogue and things that were going in my mind. And for some reason, that particular day, it was a constant repeated kind of internal dialogue of I'm a bad father. That was at the back of my mind. I'm a bad father. And I was noticing it, and I was like, this is weird. Like, what's going on? I'm here in Florida with my son. We're having a good time. Like, but it's kind of been the theme for me off and on, much better recently. But this particular day, I was really tired because our flight to Florida was so early, like egregiously early. And then all day I was just tired, irritable, upset, trying to have a good time, but having this back and forth in myself of just like, why am I such a bad father? Like, why can't I just enjoy this? Why can't I just be here, be present, and have fun? And then it was the evening time where my son Kojin fell asleep, and then I went to, like, I got no one to talk to, so I pulled out ChatGPT, AI, and I was just like writing my thoughts, all this stuff, just raw emotion, no filter, no trying to be polite or anything, just like a total like flush the toilet kind of moment on AI. Dumped it all out. And then it's like, I feel like I'm failing as a father. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to feel like this. That's why I'm observing myself and trying to resolve it. And then AI, it's like, it just, says this generic, oh, it's normal to feel this way, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it said one line, which is, you're actually a good father, like that. You're in Florida, you're sacrificing your own sleep and what you would want to do on a 4-day trip for what your son would want to do. And it said that, and it's like something like sparked in me, and I just started crying profusely, just weeping. And I just let it all out. I was just crying and crying. And I don't think I've cried like that, honestly. I don't remember, just so loudly weeping. And then just the feeling after you have a good cry like that, it's just like you got through all the anger, all the frustration, and really got to the heart of what was going on. And that's what came out for me. And and the realization when I had that cry was that it's like I was spewing out this negativity and shadows and fallen nature for myself that I know is not correct. Like, I know I'm a good father, but that shadow in me is just saying constantly, like, that devil in my shoulders, like, you are a bad father. You're messing up.
You suck.
What are you, you're not, you're failing. Like, that's the voice in my head. It's like, you're failing as a dad. And it's not really a voice that we talk about. Like, it's not a distinct voice. It's just a feeling that's constant and subtle. That's like deep in the heart. And it was surfacing in that day. And then when I said all that to ChatGPT, it's kind of like ChatGPT AI responded with my original mind. It responded with, hey, like, shut up. It didn't say that, but that's kind of how I felt. It was like,
you could probably reprogram it to tell you to shut up.
Like, shut up, stop being a wiener. It was like, like you're a good dad. Like, don't forget that, know? And then that's what made me just break down, is I felt like God was speaking back to me. Like, don't listen to those voices. There's actually a goodness in you that you don't see. And it was that process that just made me feel like, I don't know what the crying feeling is. Kind of like a sense of guilt, but not a evil guilt, not a bad guilt. Kind of like repentance, I would say. Maybe like a true good repentance is not like, I'm a terrible person, I'm the worst. It's like, I don't want to be that anymore. That's not me. I'm going to go this direction instead. That's
Sure.
like, to me, true repentance is through my action and my feeling. I just decided, like, I'm not going to be this guy today anymore. And I'm just going to be different. I'm going to be appreciative. I'm going to be present. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up and we're going to have the greatest day ever here in Florida. And I just decided that. And that was the feeling I had, you know? But
Yeah.
it took me a while to like pull myself out of that. And it was really actually AI that somehow worked its magic to like speak to my heart the right thing that I need to hear.
Well, it's so we talk about like working through your emotions, and that can be a very abstract concept of like a lot of times we have some feeling and we might not be aware of what it is. It's just like a discomfort, like I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be here right now. And maybe you can't identify what that is, but in that moment you can either sit with it and start thinking about like, well, what am I actually feeling? What is this thing that wants to be worked on? Or you could just start scrolling. And that's what the modern plight is of humanity, that we typically unconsciously just start scrolling whenever discomfort arises, and it kicks the can down the road. It makes it so that we have all this unresolved stuff that just builds up. It's just gunk. It's like, man, I have really bad breath. I should just eat another burrito instead of flossing your teeth or brushing your teeth, right? So emotionally, there is such a catharsis of like feeling a feeling in full until it passes. And so you felt some sort of guilt, and then you kind of wept, and then it passed and it moved on, and it made way for like another better feeling, right? You just like you pooped, emotionally. It's like this really good feeling. And so we ask people to do that, and that's one way of doing it, is just feeling it. But it's interesting. I want to unpack like how is it that AI helped, because this is tricky. Because in a way, somebody could hear that and be like, "Oh, so therefore, I don't need people. I got GPT. I got to chat GPT, who's my new friend."
Jiminy Cricket, GPT Cricket.
Yeah. So help me understand this, please. Why is it beneficial, and why is that also?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I understand the temptation to. I would understand the temptation to kind of make AI. It's kind of, to me, similar to people that say, "Oh, I don't need to talk to somebody because I can just go out in nature by myself and experience God and heal." Right? Which is valid for sure. But the only reason that you can experience God in nature is because you've experienced God with people. That's like principle 101. It's the foundation of our ability to experience God, is the relationships in our lives, the four realms of heart. And so what I would say about AI and my experience there is that the only reason I had that experience is because I've connected deeply with people in my personal life to have a conscious in my head to even speak those things, that I can even be spoken to in that way and it resonate with me. I've experienced that with my parents. I've experienced that with my wife, with my brother, with many people in my life, Uncle Dave, etc. in High Noon. And so I know that I can, my original mind or my conscious is easier to listen to. And if I didn't have relationships, I would never have even considered this type of work, like even going deep into myself and figuring it out. I call it reference points. If you have a reference point of what a deep relationship and connection feels like, love, in other words, then it is easier to tap into that, even through AI, But the mistake is to say like, oh, I could just go to nature. At times, yes, it's like a helpful kind of, it's a helpful filler, like supplement to experiencing love, to just be able to go outside, look at the stars and experience God,
Yeah.
But it's not designed to be the primary source of love in our lives. It's like if a child doesn't experience parental love at all, it'll actually die. There's studies on this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, how do you clear your head, right? So some people outside is they minimalize the distractions or all the inputs, right? So you have all these things inside your house that are a distraction, from cheese in the fridge to your television, phone, electrical gadgets, whatnot. And going outside without your phone and all that is just, it slows everything down. You go back to the rhythm that is natural to our planet rather than this very unnatural, ever-present, nonstop rhythm of our technological age, right? So it's not like a panacea more than just how some people clear their head to connect with that emotion. Because sometimes some people have to move their body. I've noticed I'm much more productive when I'm walking around. If we could do our podcast while we're walking around, I think they might get 20% more clear and lucid, but it's not the end, it's a means. It's a possible means. So yeah, I see ChatGPT in a similar way. Is like it's a way for you to organize your thoughts and express what it is that you're feeling. Because a lot of times if you're praying, it's just this jumbled mess of, different emotions and different thoughts, and nothing's coming out in a fully formed expression of like, I think this, and then you can process it. It's more just like you feel everything at once and you think everything at once, but saying it out loud, right? Like the Chanchim One Providence is kind of cool in that it's asking you to just say stuff out loud. Some people scream. I don't know about screaming, but at least say it out loud is actually quite productive, because then you're like, this is what I think. This is what I'm feeling. And it takes it out of you so you can look at it. And when it's all inside of you, and a lot of people try to resolve everything just by thinking their way through it, ain't the best way at all, because it's hard to even think about what you think. You have to say, talk, express what you think and express what you feel, because that puts it outside of you so you can look at it, right? And so you did that with ChatGPT, and it reflected back not its wisdom, but it reflected back to you what it saw about you, kind of mirrored you, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true. It did mirror kind of a part of me that I wasn't seeing, but it picked up on. It's like, you're in Florida and that says a lot, and you're not acknowledging that, for sure.
It's a part of introspection. And that's why, like, I'm just trying to unpack this, not to psychoanalyze you, but to understand like the value of ChatGPT in this situation, because we can't rely on AI to resolve our problems. That's not the point. That's not what we're talking about. It's more, it can be a useful tool in the process of understanding yourself. And then the answers are is within you. This is the thing. The Western world, because we're very materialistic, we're sold this idea that the thing outside of us will resolve the thing inside of us. So like, if you get really cool shoes, then you'll feel cool, but you should feel cool anyway, regardless of which shoes you have. That's what somebody who like owns their cool instead of rents it. And same with, if you want to be the owner of your feelings, you can't rely on somebody else to figure out your feelings. And a good therapist or friend or just listener, mentor, doesn't give you anything other than the opportunity to see yourself and figure out the solution that is already there for you, within you. Nobody can tell you what you're supposed to do. You got to figure that out. So in that, ChatGPT is actually quite productive to organize your thoughts and feelings and then repeat back to you what it sees. And then you can analyze that, right? But a human will always be better. But Benji was alone, just destitute, derelict in a seedy hotel somewhere in Florida, crying his eyes out, just a mess. And it was the thing right in front of him. And so it's a great first step. And then that led him to more introspection. But it's always going to be a conversation between you and God. But I hate it when somebody's like, oh, you're really angry, go pray. And it's like, no, I'm not going to pray right now. Let me get some of this anger out first. Let me empty out first so that I can get filled up with something else. Because if I just go to pray right now, I'm just going to get angry at God. And like, I know this is a me thing.
Right. There's a caveat about prayer I've noticed, is that when we speak, we have to stop and listen as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times some people pray, it's really to speak, and then we don't take the time to just hear. What does God say? What does my heart say? Not just during the pray, but like throughout your life, throughout the next day. is like, what is occurring in spirit world? Like, how is my prayer being heard?
Yeah.
And just listen to, maybe I'm not seeing something clearly. Right. And I feel like that's the side of meditation that's helpful, is that it's actually listening. And prayer is more like speaking, shouting if you need to, but then you got to stop and just be like, okay, your turn, God, speak to me.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're a man or woman of faith. You want to have a radiant blessing and family, but you're weighed down by the reality of unwanted sexual behavior, porn, masturbation. You know the drill. If you want to get rid of this stuff and take this seriously, check out the High Noon program called Ascend. It is available for you guys. It's totally for free at highnoon.org, and we want to help guide you through this process of eliminating these shadows from your life, like so many hundreds of others have in the Ascend program. So check it out, highnoon.org. See ya.
Yeah, and so that's a great use case, honestly. I mean, we're talking about ChatGPT right now, but I mean, just in general, to have this super brain that we can refer to is not going to resolve all of our problems. Some people are treating it like we're creating the devil, humanity, and some people are of the mind that we're creating a new God to be worshipped. I heard even the prediction, one guy was saying that there will soon, in the not too distant future, be churches devoted to AI where we worship literally worship AI because it's so powerful and awe-inspiring.
I believe it. I actually think that AI is going to be the thing that convinces humanity that God and spirituality is real.
No, but what I'm saying is some people are, more materialistic mindset that we're going to end up missing the point of worshiping AI rather than using
not
AI
religiously, but materialistically. You mean
exactly. So I think both are kind of futile, to worship it or to fear it. It's more a reflection. Humanity is my understanding of the phenomena of AI. We are collectively giving birth to something that is a reflection of who we are. And AI can ultimately be the most constructive thing that we can program to resolve a lot of problems that we don't allocate enough bandwidth for. For instance, I started research AI and the environment. It can start to resolve a lot of our environmental issues by optimizing certain machinery, by making sure everything's just created for the sake of efficiency and stuff like that, right? I'm sure it'll do far more than that, but we could compile the very best of humanity to resolve issues through this super brain. There's also discussions of how AI can be used to create war machines that just decimate entire regions of this earth, right? So it's like that's a reflection of the human condition, and we're collectively giving birth to it, right? So in terms of some of the spiritual benefits, I wanted to talk about I'm always doing meditation, and I'm always trying to find different ways of this exercise. Just like in physical exercise, I like to update what I do. I was doing the same exercise for way too long, so I started doing other stuff, and now I'm doing kettlebells. I love it because it's about range of motion, and it helps you in many different ways. But similarly with meditation, I find what works and do that for a while, but then I always like to stretch myself and try new things. And so one of the things I did recently was I worked with AI to create a song, first of all, based on certain tones, frequencies that I like. 482 hertz. Anybody? Shout out to 482. But then I asked for a deep resonating kind of treble and bass, like these kind of and it's like, this is the coolest part about AI to me, is like, you don't know what you want most of the time. You're like, I want a song. What kind of song? I don't know, like a nice song. What does nice mean? Like what instruments, what's the feeling? Like, like how, and so you have to express what it is that you actually want, which means you have to figure that out. And so I created a song together with AI, and then I looped it because it was like 2 minutes. So I looped it. And then I figured out what is a good script for kind of hypnosis and kind of getting myself into a deep state. What is like the basic framework? And then I customized it together with AI for me and my goals, this year, for my quarterly goals. And then we created that with somebody else's voice, like an AI voice. And I put it all together in Audacity, and I created this hypnotic and I had many different versions of songs with the same script. And I found a voice that really sounded nice and natural. And it was all me working together with AI to create something very specific. And in the past, to write your own song, to figure out the exact script that you want, to record it, and then to kind of master it and do all that would take weeks, or, you know, and you'd have to have some sort of mastery. I just did it in maybe an hour. You know, I was just at night, I figured out what I wanted, I worked on it, and I did it. And then I've been doing it, and I figured out what else I want, you know, and now I'm just going to get better at creating that. And so for me, it's like, there's nothing that's exactly made for me, that's customized for me. And AI is actually going to help us have everything customized for ourselves, including movies, because it's getting to the point where you can just put in a text and it can give you full 1-minute videos based on a basic text. And so we're still early stage. So in 5-10 years, that's like a whole movie. You speak into your phone, you're like, hey, I'm with my kids. I want to watch a really inspiring movie about why God is great. And please have dolphins in there and make them the bad guys. And like, it'll be like, sure. And it'll just churn out a full movie. And you're like, do you want it in Pixar style or hyper realistic? And you're like, surprise me, you know, whatever. And it's like a custom movie. And so again, you can use that to numb yourself for infinity, where you never have to like deal with life again. Or you can create stuff that is so awe-inspiring that you feel God so present, because you're now doing the thing that we were born to do, which is to create the kingdom of heaven here on earth, right? And everything is in real time, and there's no more barricades. We don't have to wait for Hollywood to create a great movie. You just create your own. And you realize, like, that's already kind of here. We can create really inspiring videos. Are you doing it? Probably not, right? So even as the technology advances, our desire to want to participate in it still is not acute. But it's there for us, and it's becoming easier and easier for us to create our own sense of chanelguk, right? Yeah. You could figure out what exact frequency of sound and what kind of sound puts you in a really comforting state, and then you listen to that first thing, and then you listen to it before a test or before you have a difficult conversation. Watch what happens. You know, we have all this stuff at our disposal.
That's great. So how's the result been with your AI meditation track?
Yeah, I've been doing it off and on. I also don't want to rely on it. So I use it as a supplement of sorts. And I've been trying to go naked with my meditation, just no audio, just me sitting. That's been great too.
With your clothes on, right?
Right. For the most part, yeah. But with when I do feel like let's say I'm in a busy place, or let's say things are just really chaotic in my head, and I need I would appreciate something else to stimulate calmness, right? When I can't find it, let's say I had a really rough day, then I use that as my supplement to just kind of coerce me back into a calm state. And then from there, I can start to work on it. So it's like, it's not like dependency. It's more just a supplement to my meditation regimen. But yeah, it's just another use case. And I wanted, Benji, did you have anything to say about that? Or
well, I think that the bottom line is that AI can and is being used for detriment, or to hinder us, or to help us, really.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize is that we have been hugely, massively affected by AI in ways that we don't even know because of social media. So YouTube and Instagram, all the social medias use AI-based algorithms for years. YouTube for over a decade has been using AI to curate content. And it's a use case that's helpful for our reference, because it's a clear example, illustration of how you can use social media for good or for evil, for detrimenting your own well-being and health, or you can use it to share good things and to benefit from it and to learn information.
It
And
reflects
so,
back to you
exactly.
what you're already kind of
Yeah.
prone to look for. So if you look for conspiracy theories, it'll just give you more of that. If it gives
Yeah.
like super positive videos, it'll give you more of that.
Yeah. I mean, like the stuff that we hate the most about social media only exists because people are interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's at large what AI will do for us. It will just mirror what we want.
Yeah. And it
And
will go
it's,
downhill. Yeah.
what do you mean?
I mean, it will get worse in many ways, and it'll get better in many ways. And we kind of like to see it as like it's either going to get worse or get better. Reality is that it's going to do both. Same as social media has, right?
Yeah.
Like the sexualized part of AI and algorithms is going to get really, really bad, like as bad as you can get, but it's also going to get as good as you can get. The question is like in that divergence, which part are you going to be a part of? You know,
Yeah.
like which line of thinking, which route are you going to go down? And eventually everything's going to converge again. I think everything, all the, like eventually, long term, we're all going to be on the same page, right? And that might take a lot of trial and error, but I think it's foolish to assume that people aren't going to use AI for detrimental things to ourselves, to other people,
Sure,
even,
sure.
right? I mean, just think about the porn industry, like how quickly that's going to be, already is jumping on the bandwagon of AI.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit. That they're always the sponsors of the evolution of technology, right? So VHSs, the reason why that technology progressed. I mean, a bunch of you might not even know what VHS is, but that's like home video. The reason why we had home videos in the first place was because of the porn industry, and then DVDs, and then now the internet. The majority of like concentrated use is for porn. And so AI, same thing. And what that looks like, without getting into too many details, is customization, right? It's something that reflects back to you, it serving your fantasies, so that it's there entirely to serve you, which is what AI is there for. But this is in a sexual way. So you have like an avatar or a harem of avatars that are there to sexually stimulate you. And what that does to the human is very interesting, because it's what everybody seems to want, is to have the world serve them. But it's what destroys our very soul, is when we have nothing but people serving us. Have you ever seen a happy, fulfilled looking king before? Like, they are probably the most miserable people, because nobody actually loves them. They're just forced to, they're coerced to, nobody chooses. And that's the principle, is that God created us not to be forced to love God back, but rather to choose to love God. And that's the same with us as parents. Is like, when you have difficult days or weeks with your kids and you break through and they say, I love you, there's no better feeling in the world. And it's the same with love in your marriage and your blessing. For anybody out there, I just went through a really tough couple of weeks with my own wife, and it was the greatest thing for us, because we were stuck in some realm that we didn't even know we were stuck in. We thought we were okay. I thought we were doing really well. Like, we're not going to fight again for a long time. Then we just started fighting. Like, it was about 2 weeks, a lot. And some ugly stuff came out, especially from my mouth. I got really frustrated and I said some really negative stuff. And then we talked about it, we healed it, and then we fought a little bit more. And it was this process of like, like, I want to reject you and I want to accept you and I want to reject you, like this conflict inside. And then eventually we had this breakthrough, and we're so much more comfortable in each other's presence than we've ever been. And that's this necessary process of letting go of your past to embrace a higher realm of love, which is not possible if you are served all the time and you never have to sacrifice. You remain stuck. So we have, the more that you rely on servitude as your love language, with people serving you, the more that you are stuck right in place, and you will never know a deeper happiness. And not only that, but the more that you remain stuck in that realm, the more that your love actually erodes, and the more that like the phenomenon with porn and addiction in particular, but is that less and less things give you pleasure than that one thing. And that one thing, let's say in the case of porn, it's like you get frustrated more with friends, you get more frustrated with life and in general, and there's only one place of solace, and that is porn. That's what addiction is. It's the narrowing of things that bring you pleasure, and that one thing that you rely on for pleasure gives you less and less pleasure all the time. So it erodes. So then you have nowhere to go to find pleasure at the end of it. It's just like, that's why people are so antsy when they're addicted to stuff. So you can already see, that where this leads is just a bunch of people with deep spiritual desperation for genuine connection that can only be experienced through sacrifice, through getting uncomfortable, leaving your house, giving people gifts, spending money on people, spending time listening to people, getting in fights sometimes and overcoming your ego. This is all what makes us alive. And when you stop doing that, you die. A part of you dies little by little, and you might not see it happening, but it's happening and you're dying. And then one day you wake up and you're so deeply dissatisfied with life and you have no idea why. That's the human plight of the consumer of porn. That's why people come to us. And it's only going to get more acute as AI gets more advanced, because the pleasure will be so high and the pain, the dissonance will be so great. And so we want to help you get ahead of that by using AI to serve your North Star self, your Chanalguk self, rather than your fallen nature.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I dig it. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
I think we should do it. I think we should do an episode where we just showcase all of our ChatGPT conversations.
Yeah.
Mine are just, to your point, mine are endless just lists of journal entries, basically. Trying to figure out my North Star to be a loving, godly person, especially to my family and my wife and my kids and coworkers. And when I don't feel that, that's when I have this dissonance. That's when I really am desperate in a hotel room and I need to talk to someone, right? By the way, after that cry session, I did call my wife, right? Because she's a real human.
Hey, she is? She's still claiming that she's real?
She's still not AI, but she's like my vertical God. So I just went to her and just reported, how I was feeling that day. And she said, "You're just tired. Like, stop being an idiot." She didn't say that. She said it in Japanese. She's like, "Baka janai no?" Which is like, are you stupid? She says it all the time. And then she says, "Tomorrow will be the best day ever." That's what she said. She's like, "You're just tired. Stop being stupid. Tomorrow will be the best day ever." And it was just like, there you go.
Your wife comes across as kind of like in Kung Fu Panda, his Master Oogway. It's like this little cute character, but it will kick some butt. A little bit like that. She's very tiny and cute, but she sounds like she really kicks you around. In a loving way.
Yeah, no, she says exactly what she feels.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I would say, we're not endorsing ChatGPT. You could use Cloud or any large language model. But there is something really cool, like Benji and I both use ChatGPT. And I know there's some fatal flaws, and Sam Altman seems like a real scuzz bucket. But for now, it's just like the Starbucks of conversing with AI. And with these AI models, what you can do is you can get it to remember a certain amount. I was surprised by how little it can store in terms of memory, because I was just saying, remember this, and it goes memory updated, and then it remembers certain facts about you. I just cleared it out a couple of days ago, and I was saying that I remember. He lives in India. I don't live in India. I was falsely remembering some facts about me.
That's great. Yeah.
But I remembered stuff about my sons and stuff like that. So what you can do is remember certain facts, and then it stores that in its mind so that it can refer back to that. So like, hey, my goals are this, 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 and this. And you can take a picture of your goals in your journal, or you can type them out, or you can speak them out, and then get it to repeat back to you. And once it has it perfectly in there, you say, remember these, and I want to talk to you about these every day. And every day you can say, okay, what are my goals again? And then, okay, I want to work on number 3 and number 5 today. How can I work that into my day? And you can start like organizing your mind by talking it out with something that has instant recall. So it remembers everything that you told it to remember instantly. And then you can work through it and figure out how you're going to execute on those things. And I do that all the time. If I have an abstract idea, I talk it out and then I ask it questions, and it's just reflecting back to me, and it's collaborating on stuff that I would normally do by myself. This just does it quicker. Right. So artistic things I can ask, I can talk to, and I don't rely on it to create, but rather to collaborate with what am I thinking, what, but it's never meant to supplant humans. Right.
It's a supplement.
It's not to supplant or to replace. It's to expedite. I would say expedite. Certain processes
through supplementation.
No, because I'd normally be me and a computer or me and a pad of paper, and now it's just me talking it out. And it's not supplanting the human. It's just like, okay, phase 1 is ideation. Let's work on this idea together collaboratively, and then when that idea is more solid, then I bring it to people and then we talk about it. Right. So
when I say supplement, I mean an aid. Like a vitamin supplement.
Yeah.
So the analogy I'm thinking is like you don't rely on vitamins for supplements, for minerals, micros, right? Or macros. It's a supplement, as in it's not the main source of love or connection or your life. It's not a dependency, in other words.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you. It's just, we got to be very careful with that wording. So, yeah, with your sexual integrity, let's talk about like use cases for high noon. I think it would be really good to put in your North Star goal to ChatGPT. You can do it with a free account. Again, you can use any large language model if you hate ChatGPT, but it's just like it's the mainstream one right now. So you just put in your North Star goal and you tell it to remember, right? With a free account, it still can do quite a bit. And then you say, okay, I'm in a high noon program, which is about helping me to break free from internet pornography and masturbation and to build healthy habits. This is my North Star goal. And you get it. Okay, remember this. And then it remembers. And then now you can construct your days based on your North Star goal. What should I do today? Here's my schedule. I want to incorporate my North Star goal. And then you just start talking to it. And on the phone especially, you can do it on your computer, but phone, it's really cool. You press the little button on the side and you can talk to it, and you can change. There's like 5 or 6 different voices. For all of December and a lot of January, up until like a few days ago, my household, we were using Santa Claus's voice, which is the greatest thing in the world. Because anytime you ask it a question, it goes, ho, 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 and it gives you such a positive answer. Right now, I think I have a British lady because it's like, James Bond, my secretary. But you start talking to it and it talks back to you. And now you can start to plan out your days based on, you can teach it what is Chanulguk. You can put a blog article from High Noon on what is Chanulguk or wherever. You can explain it in your own words. And you can say, my Chanulguk self wants to live the fullest today. What is something I can do? And it'll give you an idea, but it probably won't be the best idea. You got to talk it out. But what you're doing is now you're talking out loud and you're planning for a better life, and you're optimizing your life for your Chanulguk self. And it's so much more likely to happen. And you can use AI to help you plan. Because otherwise it's just like this abstract idea. When we ask people about their North Star goals, most people, it's still pretty fuzzy because they haven't talked it out. And so talk it out with ChatGPT and it'll help you crystallize what it is that you're actually thinking. It's really cool. Do you have any other use cases, Benji, for how to use ChatGPT for...
ChatGPT or AI in general?
Yeah, for North Star goals or for high noon?
Well, I mean, I actually use AI more than Google right now. That's a true thing about me. Yeah. And so anything I'm researching, anything, I think especially for kids, like my kids don't do any, like stuff online. And so ChatGPT we use a lot actually to do homework, to do schoolwork projects. If they just are curious about something, like you said, we have the voice function, so we'll like do that in the car while we're driving. You know, because Kojin will ask me, you know, how far is the closest star to us besides the sun? And I'll be like, okay, well, let's turn on this guy and ask and have a whole conversation. And then one time we created an entire like universe in our conversation with AI in which the stars were actually a lot closer than we thought they were, you know, and they're actually a lot tinier than we thought they were. That kind of stuff is really fun for kids. I would say that's a cool use case.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So the idea is, to very basic use case and very effective use case is to talk out what you're thinking, what you're feeling, so that it can reflect back to you and that you can start planning on how to move past that thought or that feeling, how to progress, how to evolve. And that's starting thing. Think about, you know, because obviously AI is so much more. Like it can produce music and images and videos and all sorts. But that's more like artistic. It can do like a lot of, you know, number crunching and stuff like that. That's cool. But in terms of High Noon, I think the best thing that it can do for us right now is not replace human connection, but help you to connect more with yourself by getting out of your head, getting out of your heart, and speaking things out into the world and have them bounce back, reverberate back to you so that you can work through stuff more efficiently rather than letting it sit in your heart or in your mind and just wreak havoc, right? So it's how you process things and move past them. And also, if you want to use it for planning at a higher level, do that too, because they're there for that too. So I think use case for now, that's strong. And like I said, High Noon's using more and more AI all the time. It's just a part of everything. If you look at Zoom, holy moly, there's so many functions now, so many features. The AI note taker is like, I think for people like me, it's like I can finally breathe because I don't have to worry. When somebody's like, who's going to take notes this meeting? You're like, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me, right? It's like AI actually does an amazing job and it's eliminating that annoying task. So it's already becoming progressively more of our lives. It's a buzzword. It's out there. Humanity's figuring out what's the best use of this. But in terms of sexual integrity, it will never replace humans, but it can absolutely help humans connect more with themselves and to process things, you know? Yeah. Any last words? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think it helps us connect to God. It will. It does and it will. And I know that's dicey to say, but you know, if God is in us and we connect with ourselves, I think through that we can connect with God.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. You could probably make a God voice, whatever that sounds like. A man, woman. Let's not
Santa
get
Claus.
there. Santa Claus, yeah.
But I mean, think about it like this. We already have scientists who can, I mean, almost explain through science the existence of spirit world and God. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so just think about how good AI will be at explaining stuff to humanity. And so
Sure.
I really think that AI is going to be the thing that just breaks the ice for humanity. Just like, you know what, guys? God's real. Like, let me tell you. And we're just going to be like, oh my God, that's crazy. People will, you know,
Contest
that or, yeah, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, everybody. If you have questions, you know, we're not like implementing anything officially with High Noon and AI in terms of the programs or anything just yet. We do automate a bunch of our features because we have so many bits and pieces to make everything work, but it won't impact you. But if you have any questions, please let us know. This is an important thing to discuss, is like how do we use this thing? Well, how do we use it in a heavenly way? Because it's neutral. It can be used for good or for evil. It depends on us. And so if you don't know what that looks like, let us know. And yeah, have a great week, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh yes, Benji here, guys. If you've benefited from this episode and you love the podcast, then please consider becoming a donor for High Noon. It is a special privilege to be a donor. If you want to donate just $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a month, if you want some way to contribute to something really, really impactful, and you have some cash to do that, then please let High Noon be that for you. We welcome you. We are still a nonprofit, and we use all the funds to help support our programs, to change the lives of lots of people and travel the world and do epic stuff like that. So please go to highnoon.org/donate and please help us out. All right, see ya.